Tuesday and welcome. I'm so excited for everybody to be joining me here for Mindset Michele TV Show. It's a lovely day again, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whenever you're watching this, that you too are having a fabulous, fabulous day. So my extra special guest today is the wonderful, the amazing Najla Turk. Now, Najla is one of the people that she is my go-to person for anything and everything to do with diversity and inclusion, but not necessarily just for the way that you think of diversity and inclusion in typical cold terms of culture and linguistically diverse, etc., but also in terms of diversity of thinking. So today we're going to have this amazing conversation around who Najla is, but we're also going to incorporate some of how she has learned and taken advantage of what she understands around that diversity of thinking and how it's helped her to become such a success that she is. So I'm so excited, and I'd love to welcome you to the show today. So Najla, do you want to say hello and explain yourself to everybody watching?
Michele, thank you very much for the invitation this morning. Oh, this afternoon, yes, thank you very much. And I'm pleased actually to be given this opportunity to be speaking, because I do get questioned a lot, just so people can tap into the way I think. And I think that's because I'm visually different, culturally different, religiously, what makes up who I am. So I might just start just to share with you my journey of where I am today. First and foremost, it's no secret, I was born to migrants. So my parents migrated to Australia way back. And yeah, they wanted to retain the culture. And so I grew up with the cultural environment. It's all about, respect, valuing other people, being the best you can, and obviously getting an education and giving back to the community and giving back to Australia. And that was, my parents' vision for us. Now, I must share with you a really funny story. It's funny now, it wasn't at the time, but when I was in year 7, actually, my very first year, so year 7 of high school, I was in mainstream English class. And then one afternoon, I was called out of the classroom, taken to an office. There was the principal and the year headmaster and my teacher. And they asked me the question. They said, Najla, we want to ask you a question. Can you tell us the difference between a horse and a donkey? And obviously I visualized the difference, and in my mind it was very clear, and I gave an answer. And much to my surprise, the next day I was yanked out of that classroom, the mainstream classroom, and put into ESL, English for people of second languages. It truly threw me. It truly shattered my confidence, and I couldn't understand why. And I definitely didn't have the confidence to ask the whys. And I didn't call on my parents to go because their English was limited. And I just wore being in an ESL class for a few years until I worked my way out of that classroom. But the thing is, when I looked at everybody in the room, they were migrants, recent arrivals, new refugees. And here I am, born and raised in Australia, and put in this class. Little did I know that impacted my entire life journey. Yeah? So I later became an educator. So I'm teaching adult educators, and I understand, that the first thing that goes in people's mind is, I can't. The confidence. I don't have English. It's a barrier. And so my entire life has been working around people who are experiencing, limitations in their own ability, just as I had limitations. And it wasn't until I overcame them, I was driven, to actually just step up. And I had a vision. I needed to contribute back to this country. I need to give back to humanity. And so that was my driver. So what I do at the moment, I actually talk about diversity and inclusion. I train on diversity and inclusion. I write material on diversity and inclusion. But is it about diversity? So let's talk about the word diversity. It's about difference. So I am visually different. I'm a woman, Muslim background. And for that reason, I'm going to greet everybody with Salam Alaikum, because we're in the month of Ramadan, the end of Ramadan, and that's how Muslims greet other Muslims. So it's peace and blessings onto you. So the thing is with the word diversity is that we're all different. I greet somebody with something that's different. Rather than saying hello, I greet somebody with peace and blessings. Wait a minute, employers and employees, they fear talking about differences. And because I was growing up different, I grew up acknowledging I was different in my language skills, in my culture, socially. I now realize that that was a limitation. I'm breaking through those limitations, and this is the space that I claim. Yeah, so what I do is I teach, I coach, I present. I'm an international presenter. I'm an author of a published book, The Art of Diversity. Yeah, how to gain competitive advantage through engagement. So
and I think that that's really interesting, and thank you so much for sharing that background and that lens. I think one of the things I love about the different guests on the show is each bringing that different lens to their experiences. And so I can really appreciate how at that moment when you were taken out of the class and put into an ESL class, the self-judgments, etc., that you've learned to then turn into your secret skills and your superpowers, your gifts of being able to understand how people might see differences as being something that's not a positive experience, but can actually lead to the gifts and the positive experiences that you go through. And that leads nicely on, Will, with all of that incredible wealth of background, what do you then think, what does success mean to you from your lens and your background? What do you think success is?
Look, success is different for every individual, and it's definitely not monetary for myself. Yeah, for me, the success is getting that balance right. Yeah, it's getting the heart, the head and the heart, the inner and the outer. Yeah, it's being happy, content, satisfied, owning your uniqueness. Yeah, being productive, contributing back to community. That for me is success. So if you can reclaim who you are, yeah, own up to who you are, yeah, and be happy, inner and outer, and then there's nothing holding you back. The sky is the limit.
So I'm hearing that success for you is that balance between the inner and the outer. So your definition of success is that balance.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. And do you think that's also what you're passionate about with what you do in your career?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. What I'm passionate about is supporting individuals to grow. Yeah, it is all about growth, evolving. You know, no 2 days should be the same. You're taking control, taking responsibility of your own learning. That's what's important. So as an educator and as a coach and trainer, you know, it's allowing people to see themselves in a different light, giving them a safe space to explore their inner. Yeah, so know thyself, and that's what I'm passionate about. So you've got to know yourself really well, and then you can share, you can engage, you can be the best version of yourself. Yes, that's, yeah, you know, I'm passionate about that. Seeing the transformation in people and shedding that limitation. I put it behind you. Yeah, never say
that same limitation that people were trying to impose on you around language because of some of your cultural and the way that you looked background back then. Yeah. And I love how you define success as being that balance, and I can see how your career and the work that you do is helping other people grow and expand on that balance for themselves as well.
The thing is, Michelle, we're not living in this world, you know, in isolation by ourselves. Yeah, we are engaging, we're meant to engage with other humans. Yeah, when you understand yourself and you value your difference, you know, whatever it may be, it's visual, it's intellectual, you've got all these ideas. Yeah, whether you're a creative person, whether you've your experiences, that's your diversity. Yeah, and your upbringing, the way you were raised, your values. Yes, my values, the top 3, 5, 10 values may be different to the next person. It doesn't mean that I don't value other human beings, but they're different. So it's all about respect. And then it's about having a voice. So it's one thing to grow, but what's the point if you can't engage with another human being and share your ideas and share your thoughts and your experiences? And So it's about learning and sharing together. So it's a two-way thing.
I love that, you know, the two-way thing and finding your voice and sharing those experiences. And I think it's also really important to look at, and when working with people like we both do, help them to move past that uncomfortableness about the differences in thoughts, differences in being, differences in background, and to see those as their superpower strengths, because all too often, whatever element it is outside of ourselves, we can get a lot of negative feedback about those differences. So I'm interested in, if looking from that diversity and that difference lens and finding your voice, what would be 3 tips that you may give to people then for how they can then create that successful mindset?
Before I answer that question, I'd like to just, because it just ties in with what you just said, you know, growing and identifying yourself. It's a difficult journey. It doesn't come easy. It doesn't even come with age. It takes people like yourself, Michelle, and I'd like to thank everybody out there, all the likes of Michelle's and all the Johns and the Rebeccas and the Marcy's and Jennifer's and everybody out there helped me on my journey to get to where I am today. Yeah, you know, I'm invited to speak internationally. I'm confident in my skin. I share, you know, because I know there's no right, there's no wrong. There's no good, there's no bad. It's all about being the best version of yourself. So therefore, the 3 tips, yeah, the first and foremost is stop to have a think. Yeah, stop and think, what's going on up here? What's circulating in my brain model? I haven't given it a name just yet. But listen, you need to observe what's happening up here. So you need to stop and think and observe. It's not about what's going on the outside. Our perceptions is what's happening on the inside, and that we project out. So that's number 1. First tip. Yeah? Take the courage to stop and observe yourself. Secondly, whatever you find, flip it. Flip it. Challenge it. Turn it around. See the different angles. See where other people are coming from. You know, as I said, there's no right or wrong, but it's always good to project outwards and say, okay, so what could they be thinking? Let me tell you, when I was asked what was the difference between a horse and a donkey, yeah, I now realize I didn't have the language skills to articulate. But I do recall saying that they were both animals they were 4-legged animals with hoofs. Yeah, they ate hay and they were brown in color. And I now realize it's because I was looking at it positively. Yes, I don't know what obviously I didn't have the language. They were asking for the difference. I didn't see the difference. I saw similarities. So what was the difference between the horse and the donkey? I didn't see difference. I saw similarities. Therefore, in their mind, I didn't answer the question appropriately. I wasn't competent. So they took the decision and yanked me out of my class, put me in another classroom, belittled me. You know, it's affecting my self-esteem, my journey in life, you know, wanting to make my parents proud to stand up and own, you know, being an Australian, you know, Lebanese Muslim woman. And then that was stripped away from me because I allowed that to happen. So that's 2. So 2 is reframe. So number 1 is just observe what's happening up in your own thoughts. 2, just reframe. Yeah? Are they understanding your question? Yeah? What are they thinking? And number 3 is engage. Engage with the individual. And that takes heart. Here's my heart bottle.
What other parts of the body have you got on the desk then, Najla?
I have 2 more bottles. I have 2 more models. And this is really powerful because this is what we need. We need the alignment between the head and heart. That's what we need. Diversity is about seeing the difference. Absolutely see the difference. But where's the heart in the engagement? Yeah, it's understanding people for who they are and working with them. Yeah, to develop them, to enable the individual who could be struggling with language barriers or, you know, self-worth issues or, you know, limitations. This is about shifting your mindset about yourself and also shifting how you perceive others, because I can tell you where you think what you think could be right or wrong, unless you have that engagement, unless you tap into the other person's mindset, you're not going to know how they're different or similar. Yeah. So it is about having that dialogue, and it's about diversity of thought. This diversity of thought is powerful. You know, I get paid just to speak and share my personal experiences, and people are blown away. It's, oh wow, we didn't think of that. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, so what's so unique? It's because we're living in a world where we have to conform. We're putting people in boxes. Yeah, conformity. I don't fit into any box, and I choose not to, but I have choice. Yeah. So I'd like to respect others, and I'd like others to respect me. But at the end of the day, it's about heart. I know what people are going through, because I've got lived experience. But you and each of you have your own journey, and I get that. And so when I'm listening to you, and I take the time to understand you and really get to understand your challenge, and your barriers, and your vulnerability, then I'm going to step up and help you on your journey. And that's my quest for life.
And in a sense, it's like your superpower, and in a similar way, where it's really lovely and funny. You said at the very beginning, you describe yourself as an educator, and there you are with the models on your desk to do a show and tell. So when people are thinking even like a brain, you have a model of a brain there. So similar to your example about the donkey and the horse, I'm loving, if they had showed you the two pictures, you would have been able to explain all the differences and all the similarities. And now when you're talking about a brain and a heart, you have the models, so that even whatever language or words that you're using, the images of those models that you're sharing mean that everybody can understand beyond the words and into the images.
Yeah, absolutely. And that story of the horse, I tell you, that story got published in a educational magazine, the whole of Australia. It's in every school in Australia. And that's just to help educators understand that, students from cold background, culturally and linguistically diverse background, they might not have the language, but it doesn't mean that they don't have other skill sets. It doesn't mean they don't have other talents. And it definitely doesn't mean that we should draw that out, bring them forward, lean into them. Yeah. And that's really what I'm passionate about. It's diversity, inclusion. Is it about difference? No. Is it about inclusivity? Not really. It's all about engagement. Yeah, I need to listen to you, you need to listen to me, but I need to shift what's happening up here, right? And I need to be the driver of my own bus.
Well, and I believe really that engagement starts with yourself, and it starts with understanding, like the wonderful way that you understand and have shared that story about what happened with the horse and the donkey. Many, many people that I work with and know in this world of coaching and helping people, we understand our like historic journeys and our stories, and it's those stories that then became our superpowers. And so whether it's, when I was a child, I got into remedial language because I didn't speak properly. I mumbled and all sorts of things. And I think now, well, here I am doing a TV show, and that journey through life, the experiences and the people I've met and the things that I've done since being a child that got told I didn't speak properly. I've been a teacher, I've been in all sorts of different roles. And I think a lot of that came from being told I didn't speak properly as a child. So for people watching this and listening to that diversity of thought, I love your 3 points around the brain and the heart and reframing your thinking, because it's looking at whoever you are, whatever your background and whatever experiences that you've had, looking at that diversity and inclusion firstly within yourself, including your thoughts and those diverse experiences, and reframing it all as things that are great and have created who you are and keep helping you to be the best that you can be in the world.
Absolutely. Don't be in your own way. Be on the way. You have a purpose, each and every one of you, here for a reason. Yeah? And don't rely on the words. Words aren't everything. That's not communication. Your body language is communication. Yeah, your gestures, your hand gestures, the expressions in your face. Smiling is contagious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. So smiles breaks down any barriers. Yeah. So let's look at, our commonalities. What's similar? Let's not look at our differences. That difference is for you and you alone to stand up, and take ownership and be a voice and share. Yeah, thank you.
And I guess a number of the people watching as well, they may work in companies and have staff and teams that they work with. What are the sorts of tools or techniques that you've used with helping teams to break down like those individual and the team barriers around diversity of thought and that engagement? What are some key tools that you've used there?
Well, to be honest with you, I wasn't aware that organisations really, really struggled with this until I moved into this space. First and foremost, we need to separate our words. For example, people assume culture and religion are the same thing. No, they're not. They're separate. Yeah. And I think maybe that's why we're afraid to talk about differences, is because, well, what if we, offend someone? Yeah. And how do we ask, and how do we communicate, and how do we learn more about that person? You need to know more about that person. Yeah. Don't take it for granted that person is, for example, Sri Lankan or Russian or Indian or Arabic. That we accept diversity. We're in the month of Ramadan at the moment. What has your organisation done to find out who's fasting? And how can you accommodate? Because when you step outside your comfort zone, and you offer support and you're listening to meet the main needs of your workers and your staff and your clients, your customers, that's going to be appreciated. So your team, whether it's 2 or 3 or 300, get to know them on a personal basis. Yeah, and let me say, don't be afraid to ask questions. But firstly, ask permission to ask a question. Please get permission, because I get asked a lot of questions, and I don't mind. I get lots of questions. And one final question was, so your husband lets you work? Yeah, or your husband is permitted to have 4 wives, and this is, I don't mind getting questions. I don't mind. However, I'm different to the average person. Remember, I've been on the journey, so I'm standing on a platform where I'm really grounded. Yeah, and I've had great support from people around me to elevate me to that point where I'm able to share what I'm thinking. I'm able to share what I'm feeling. I don't feel intimidated because I know there's no right, there's no wrong. We're just here to learn and share, to grow, evolve, and be the best version of ourselves. But the next person might be sensitive, so we'd ask them. You might be asked a question. Okay? And no question is a stupid question. I always say in the classroom when I'm teaching, there's no stupid question. How else are we meant to learn? So I give you permission. I give you, no, it's not permission, but you're allowed. It's intention. If what up here is about intention, oh gosh, I've just lost the part of my brain.
Your brain's falling apart.
Oh my goodness. There we go. So, understand diversity, and let's go back to the brain. The left brain is the cognitive, it's the decision making, that's the language. Right side is all about creativity. You've got a team, you're working with a team. Yeah, find out which part of their brain is the functioning, the stronger part. I'm not creative by any stretch of imagination. Yeah, so don't put me on a project that requires creativity. Yeah, but I can articulate through communication. I'm the ideas person. So it does go back to this. Yeah, because everything stems back from this computer that we have here. Yes, it's a brain. So, it's not just the visual, it's also how do I think? How do I process? Yeah. And
I think that these are all really great tips about how to understand yourself and your team members, and then engage with them. And engaging with them, whether it's from the heart or from the head, and then looking at whether they're creative or they're more numbers, they're good with what their skills are. And I also really like how you differentiated, because being in companies, I'm always thinking about culture as organisational culture, but when you talked about culture versus religion, that was also a good reminder about when people do use words, they may have a different context or meaning to what you're thinking they mean with that word. So it's also, like you were explaining, really important to keep asking those questions and checking it out. In fact, I saw this fabulous TV program the other day, and it was about this woman, and she was wondering how to ask. There were two daddies of the little boy, and she was trying to work out, you know, you like daddy one and daddy two, and she was talking to somebody else, how do I ask these types of questions? And they were like, well, just like you explained wonderfully, ask permission, and then if they give permission, just say, look, I don't really know how to, you know, are you daddy one? Is there a mummy? All of that sort of thing. Just asking permission to then ask those questions is so important.
Kids have no filters. They ask. Fantastic, because it's coming from a place of innocence. And you know, in the workplace, each and every one of us, we don't want to be an individual in a group, okay, with the same mindset. We want innovation. We want different ideas. We want a team to come to, you know, diversity within a team. We don't want groupthink. What's the point of hearing the same response from everybody in the room? And when I walk into classes and I look around, I see, you know, diversity in the way people look. You know, I'm inspired by that, because everybody has a story, everyone has an experience. Like the other day, I met a 72-year-old lady who said she was born in Egypt and grew up in Kuwait. And her parents are Irish, and she lived in Australia. She married an African. I thought, oh my God, she write a book. Because of her lived experience, and she's got her perspective on life, and her, you know, her journey is just so unique. So no two people are ever going to be the same. So let's not label. Yeah, I refuse to be labeled. Yeah, I don't see myself fitting into any box. I don't fit into the, you know, this world or that world. You know, when I stand tall and hold my head up high, you know, I'm proud that I'm unique in my thoughts, my experiences, you know, my preferences in life, what I like, what I dislike. Yeah, that's what makes who I am, and that's what makes who you are. Yeah, so own it.
I love that theme about the diversity and the differences being your unique superpowers, because that's what makes you who you are. And we've just a few minutes left. I know that people are always asking these questions as I'm just checking on social. What would you say to your younger self? What would you say to that child that was asked about the donkey and the horse? What themes or things would you say to your younger self?
Oh, I pose that question you just did, Michelle. That took me decades to share that story. It took decades. So that was, it really hit home for me, because there's always expectation outside myself, and that just unraveled me and set me back. And then instead of standing up and moving forward, I was stumped for many, many years. And then I think, you know, individuals around me who saw talent, who saw potential, and helped mentor and shape who I am. So, you know, the tip or the advice I give with the younger version of myself is detach. Just detach from any emotion. Yeah. Always remember, there's no right, there's no wrong. We're only here to learn, to be the best version of ourselves, and to give back to humanity, truly. And we just keep it that simple. That's all it is. Each and every one of you is working in an industry where you're wanting to make a difference. I know, because I've asked everybody. Everybody wants to make a difference. Yeah, so if you're coming from that place, yeah, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. It's okay that you think you've made a mistake. There's no mistake.
So the main advice you would give yourself, younger self, is actually to detach from your emotions and to look at the bigger picture and to focus on that bigger picture.
That's right. There's no fear. Don't be bogged by fear of offending fear. And I know why people are fearful, and I experienced it when I was traveling to the CBD. I'm sitting on a train, everyone's huddled on the other side of my carriage. I look to my left and it's vacant. I look to my right and it's vacant. What does that tell you? That speaks volumes. People are afraid, yeah, to ask or to move forward, to lean forward, or to engage or embrace. Yeah.
So just then, because people, I'm sure, watching this aren't going to do that, if they wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to contact you?
LinkedIn is the way to contact me. I get my notifications on LinkedIn, and yes, emails, word of mouth. Like I'm out there. I've got a website, I've got a YouTube channel. Yes, yeah, so
fabulous.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no more.
So just again for people, it's Najla, Najla, and Turk, Turk. Well, Najla, I can't believe, because I do know that we could talk about these subjects for many, many hours. We're both very passionate about it. But thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. And I just hope, our audience, can shed the limitations and inhibitions that they have, and just own their uniqueness, their superpowers. There's no need to be vulnerable. We're all vulnerable. We all have vulnerabilities. We all have fears, but just put it behind you and step into this new you. Fabulous.
What a wonderful thought to end the show on for today. So from my heart to everybody else watching, thank you so much for being on the show today, Najla, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. But until then, be great, be fabulous, and be you.